Welcome back to Turning the Mirror podcast. This is where we bring you the reflection of politics and governance across our country, Kenya. This is Owoth Kaboko, and my co-host is Olengo Kwach. And let us look into Raila Odinga. We've seen him playing politics with William Ruto. Is this man factual, or that's a game he's playing that we never know?
I look at this man and I see a man who is seriously playing William Ruto. Remember, the two of them have worked together in the past.
Yeah.
And they both know each other. And they both know that none of them can be trusted. Remember, in 2007, they worked together to see Raila Odinga's presidency come to be. Something that never came.
Yeah.
But then when Raila became the prime minister, William Ruto was among those who were given the opportunity or the chance to work as the ministers, like within the cabinet. If I'm not wrong, he was the minister in charge of agriculture. Then after a short while, things came out and Raila himself fired him.
Okay. Yeah. True.
After this, that tells you that he trusted Raila during the campaigns.
Yeah.
After the campaigns, Raila did that thing. Alimfanyia namna ile. You see? And then in 2017, Raila signed an MOU with a group of principals of different parties into one coalition called NASA.
Yeah.
This MOU, again, Raila was the presidential candidate. When Uhuru, through ABCD, happened to still get that position as the president, Raila again did not honor the MOU.
Okay.
Of course, in 2018, he entered into something called the handshake government with Uhuru Kenyatta, leaving out his the core principles in the then NASA coalition, that is Kalonzo Musyoka, Musalia Mudavadi, Moses Wetangula, Isaac Ruto, among many others.
Yeah.
Then in 2018 now, again he signed an MOU with Uhuru Kenyatta. This MOU was never public.
Yeah.
But then part of it, as things turned out, was that he would then support Uhuru's government, but in return, Uhuru would then support him for the 2022 elections as the presidential candidate.
Yeah.
And remember Uhuru trying to sell him in the mountain.
Yeah, sure.
So again, in 2022, in 2018, after this MOU, we again had another MOU in 2022. Now with Raila, Martha Karua, among many other people like Kalonzo Musyoka and all that, they signed an MOU with Raila as the presidential candidate under a coalition called Azimio.
Yeah.
When again he did not manage to clinch the presidency, again he pulled out and entered into a broad-based government with William Ruto, leaving out those he signed an MOU with. Actually, he did not honor the MOU. The likes of Martha Karua, Kalonzo Musyoka, all those who supported him, Peter Munya and all that group, even the DAP party leader, all that group, he did not even care about what they think.
Okay.
Remember, this is a man who Kalonzo has supported for 3 times. 2013, Kalonzo was his running mate. 2017, Kalonzo was his running mate. 2022, this is the man who has been your running mate. You know him very well. He has been supporting you. And of course, his people have been voting for you.
Yeah.
But then you subject this man to what is called an interview, where he's got asked his name, you bring your CV and all that. So this man is somebody who actually, in most occasions, he never respects the MOUs.
Okay.
Ruto himself also, immediately after the 2022 elections, when asked, I think by Joe Ageyo, when he was having an interview with the Nation Media Group, Joe Ageyo asked him that if at all there would be differences between him and Gachagua, how would he then approach that? But then he promised and said that such a thing will never happen. And of course, he can never even allow junior officers in his government to disrespect Gachagua.
Yeah.
Alikiri, and he promised that such a thing can never happen. But then a few months later, you saw what happened. Gachagua is now out of the government.
So you're trying to tell us that Raila is deceiving Ruto right now?
Both of them know very well that none of them can be trusted. But then what is happening today, Raila is deceiving Ruto. And why am I saying so? Since they joined or got into the broad-based government. Remember, first of all, Raila started by saying, I've donated experts to this government. We are not part of it. We have just donated the experts to help stabilize. Then after some time, we saw now the MPs, the senators within his party get to some positions in the parliamentary committees and all that. And we even saw some of those who are very close to him getting jobs in this government, some as the advisors of the president himself, some even to parastatals. But one of those very key figures is a son to his brother, the eldest brother, Oburu Odinga, the son called Jaoko Oburu. He is now an advisor to William Ruto. And with this now, Oburu became very strongly supporting this government and in many occasions keeps saying that we are in government. We are in government and we are here to stay. And even bashes the likes of James Orengo when they speak truth to power. Recently, when they were in Bondo, Oburu spoke normally, how he normally speak and say how they're in government, and even bashed Orengo, bashed all those who are against this broad-based government. When Raila stood to speak, he actually said that, oh, the likes of Oburu, they can say whatever they want to say, they believe whatever they want to believe, but personally, direct quote, I'm not in the government. Now today with Ruto visiting Kisumu and Homa Bay counties, ahead of the Madaraka Day celebrations, which are set to be held in Homa Bay, Ruto was doing some launching and commissioning of affordable housing. And from nowhere, Raila says he has donated 5 acres of land for the government to use in building the affordable housing because they'll help in the standards of living of Kenyans. I see this as a mind game. I don't really think if he did this out of goodwill that he really wanted to help. But he has read and seen that the more he brings Ruto closer, because remember most of the visits that Ruto have done in the Nyanza region, even attending Thanksgiving parties or ceremonies of those who he appointed as the CSS, Raila was not part of it. Right? He was not there physically. So this is among the very first meetings that Raila was there with him. And it seems Raila has read and seen that most of his supporters love Ruto genuinely. And that is something that Raila would not want to happen. He would really want that if you are getting into Nyanza as a political leader, then you get through him as the door. And therefore, for it not to be seen as if Ruto is doing everything, for it to be seen like Ruto is doing all these things because of him, then he gives this piece of land so that the people can say even Baba is supporting this, and by then he has even given 5 acres of land.
Okay, I'm trying to look at this and also historically comparing the relationship between Raila and Uhuru formally. These people had never worked together before. In fact, they were on the conflicting sides. And again, when it came to this time, the handshake government, when they come together, when Uhuru gets to Raila and they agree, then they say, let's work together. Then Uhuru comes and recounts and says that I'll support you, and he did support him for 2022 elections. He did his all best. Maybe there could be some reasons why he didn't manage to convince the mountain region to vote Raila, but he did what he could do best. As I know and as I believe it worked. And this means there is some reconnection that did happen, not even a reconnection, that Uhuru did recall that we should do something together. At least you agreed to support me, and I ran and my government worked so smoothly and successfully, and yes, let me support you back. Also, if you compare their two dads who are the founders of this country, they at some point they went to conflicting sides, so they are people who would never have agreed, and we never expected that. And now Raila and Ruto, people who formerly worked together, were members of the same party, ODM especially, and Ruto was even the Secretary General of the party. Now they're coming together. Why can't Raila support him? Or tell us, what do you think Raila is up to? Is he up to Running for presidency or something else?
Okay, just to correct you, in the coalition government, the Nusumkate, Uhuru was actually the deputy, one of the deputies that Raila had as the prime minister. One was Mudavadi and the other was Uhuru, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
So that means they've worked together, serving the same office, serving the same pass. But then, this is a man who has worked with Raila. They competed for the party leadership. They founded this party together. And remember, Raila has worked with all the governments that has been in place as long as he was in politics. The moment Raila joined politics, the government that was in place to date, Raila has been working with these governments. And I even have a friend of mine who said that he doesn't mind because he knows even if Raila will run for presidency in 2027, he will not get it, but we should just be sure of who we are electing next so that he work with whoever will be electing next. But anyway, this is why I'm saying Raila is playing Ruto. Number one, Raila has had an interest in becoming the country's president, of which he has never gotten that. He has run 5 times. He has been Raila the 3rd, Raila the 4th, Raila the 5th. And therefore, I'm quite sure that Raila the 6th is just on the way
Can
coming.
also happen.
And remember, Raila is someone who, if you really is after something and you've never gotten it, he's a good man to study. Because he has never actually, he has never lost hope. And therefore, I'm quite sure that right now, listening to what Raila said in Kisumu, he completely dodged most of the political questions people would ask or people would expect him to answer. It's only his lieutenants that were talking and saying that, Ruto, we will support you 100%, we're with you 100% and all that. But he never made a promise.
All the people supporting
all
Raila,
the other people like Gladys Wanga, you know, with them, even I remember Opio and I once saying back then, before 2022 elections, that if Raila tells him to jump, he will not ask why. He will only ask how higher Raila wants him to jump. And therefore, these people, today they'll sing Ruto will support you because Raila is with him. The moment Raila will tell them that now we are headed for this direction, they'll all change towards that direction.
Oh, that aside.
And remember, just as I conclude, remember Raila keeps telling the Luos anytime he's there, and he even did it today in Luo language, saying, we know where we came from, we know where we are, and we know where we are going. That's a statement he keeps using since 2007. And that tells you, because he keeps saying this, knowing very well his target. So that tells you that he knows where they are going and what his intentions are. And therefore, at the right time, because today he was just like, oh, we are working, it is today, and right now it's time for development. He dodged most of the political questions. And therefore, when the time comes, Raila will automatically change the tune.
He's the Joshua taking us to Canaan.
Yes.
Okay, right. What about the one-term movement? It's very powerful, very real, and can never be assumed.
Remember, in many occasions out there, people say that whatever happens in a house, it is the members of that house who understands them very well or knows exactly what happens within that house. And therefore, whenever they speak about such a problem outside the house or outside the family, people tend to believe them.
Okay.
And that's exactly what is happening today. Remember, Gachagua worked with William Ruto as the deputy president, very close to him. We had J.B. Muturi, who worked as the Attorney General and later head of public service, the CS for public service. Then we have somebody like Mithika Linturi, who was also the CS for agriculture. All these people have come together and united. And they are speaking one language. And if somebody who held the position of Attorney General comes to you and tells you, State House is a crime scene.
But they can merely lie because these are politicians.
And yes, they can lie, but they can use exactly because people trust what they say is exactly what was happening in the government. And they even make it to look like they were pushed out of the government because of their strong stance against the excesses that were happening in the government.
You are saying they make it look like.
Yes.
Okay.
And remember, Kenyans, or even the voters, they vote because of their emotions. And so the more you can create emotions, you remember the current president even crying in church before the 2022 elections? The more emotions you can create and the more emotional attachment you can create between you and the electorates, the more likely they will vote for you. And remember, Gachagua is a political scientist and a student of literature. So he knows very well how to play with words. He knows very well how to calculate when it comes to numbers, and knows very well how to do his things when it comes to strategy.
With that alone, is he a man really to be trusted?
You cannot really trust Gachagua.
Okay.
Because remember, when he was in power as the deputy president, you could automatically see what he used to say, his speeches, the shares, narrative, and all that. And you could read, Gachagua is a true tribalist. That is something that is very open. And also, you cannot trust even that wing, because most of those who are there have been in politics since Moi's era. And remember, in Kenyan politics, since Moi's era, we've only seen people try to regroup and group and try to position themselves as the better option for the Kenyans. But at the end of the day, whoever clinches this seat just turns out to be even the worst compared to their predecessor.
And comparing Gachagua and Ruto himself, look at them, the two of them. You are talking about somebody who understands how to convince the people, the masses, the Ulumbi, the orators in them. Look at Gachagua, look at Ruto, aside thinking about what Ruto has done, the masses, and how people perceive him right now. Comparing the two guys, who is the master?
I'll really not say the master. But I'll say both of them, they know what is expected of them and what you can do to win an election.
Do you think
what you have to remember,
answer this simple question. Do you think Gachagua can cry in a church to win votes? Literally crying, and we see the tears coming down.
You know, every politician can do that.
Do you think that can happen in Gachagua?
Anything can happen.
Okay.
And I want to tell you, remember,
it's about emotions.
The government of the day is always bad in the eyes of its citizens.
Okay.
And therefore, in as much as Ruto will still come and try to try to create a narrative, of course, Ruto is a very smart politician. He can create that narrative. Remember, he beat Raila and Uhuru combined because of the orator part of it and how he could create emotions. But now he is also a Gachagua who is also an orator and very ruthless when it comes to decisions. Therefore, I'm seeing a very serious competition ahead.
Look at the ruthlessness and also somebody who is very wise and calculative. You know, at some point, Gachagua is too ruthless. And at some point, to some extent, we can say Ruto is at some point very keen and very wise. When he wants to make a move, he can calculate so many other moves ahead and compare and balance everything. So when he does this, he knows the expectations that will be coming later. And also with the understanding of the kind of the Kenyan people, the citizenry of Kenya, how we do change, we can be convinced otherwise just within a short period of time. It's still some good
that's
period.
True. 2 years is too long. 2 years is too long. But you see, Gachagua as a man, it is true. He speaks his mind. And therefore you can tell what he's thinking, what he's planning, and therefore you can plan with that.
Very dangerous for
Ruto is always very silent, but works behind the scenes. When he comes out to speak, he has already calculated what he wants to say. Even if it is a lie, remember, even if he wants to lie to you, he will lie, and you can even take it to be truth. The only problem is what he said yesterday might be very different from what he's saying today. So if you are keen, then you can balance the two and know that he's lying. But now these two people are very key people to watch. But now when it comes to Ruto's presidency, Gachagua is a very big threat. Because remember, politics is a game of numbers. Gachagua today, impeaching him, has given him a very serious base, more so in the Mount Kenya region. And now with the DCP party of his coming up, this is a party that I can promise you, in 2027, or in the next general elections, this DCP party is going to sweep most of the elective positions in central Kenya. And central Kenya is a big voting basket compared to Nyanza, for example, where now Ruto is targeting. You know, Nyanza, their votes, yes, but not compared to Central Kenya. But even these votes that are there, not all of them goes out there to vote. If you look at how the percentage of voting or the system of voting between Nyanza and Central Kenya, for example, I'm just weighing them, for example, then you'll realize that Central Kenya, they really get out there to vote. So Gachagua, and even the unity he's trying to create around his party and even his coalition, and the statements he makes about Ruto's presidency and what he saw, even if they're lies, what he saw when he was in government, then that speaks volumes and is a very serious problem and a challenge to Ruto's presidency.
Let the people of Kenya reflect this. Ruto is a man who can do anything relevant to him for the sake of power.
True.
He can even kill, he can do anything that a man can never imagine of. And just imagine right now he's in the deep state, he's the government.
And remember, most politicians can do that.
Oh.
Even killing, doing all that, most politicians can do that.
But Ruto has done it better than anybody I can think of in the nation.
Because of the Gen Z protest?
Not just the Gen Z, even the church and everything, at some point being a saint, at some point being the worst of all, and all that. So it can happen. So we are expecting a lot of things, but let us hear from what you have to say. Just join us to the conversation, comment on what you think about Gachagua, one term, Raila Odinga, and welcome always to Turning the Mirror podcast. Thank you.